Finally, after escaping the void that Series 11 put me in, we're ready to talk about another character study in The Simpsons. You know, it's been a while since I released the Lisa Simpson video, and a lot of people have opinions on that, which is good, so, you know, let's do it again. This is Bart Simpson, otherwise known as Bartholomew J. Simpson, America's Bad Boy, this generation's Dennis the Menace, or please God, Cool Child line. He's one of the most recognizable characters ever, and yet, despite this, Bart Simpson has become an extremely misinterpreted character. Firstly, because he should be at least 45 years old by now, and secondly, because The Simpsons have failed Bart Simpson. This boy has gone misrepresented for too long, and frankly I'm sick of it. And with the news that Homer is no longer going to abuse this boy, I thought, hey, what better time to release a critical video on Bart's character than now? I believe a friend of mine said it best with, Bart is simultaneously the best and worst character in the Simpson family. When you think back to many of the best episodes of this show, they have been Bart-centric, but a lot of the worst episodes have also been Bart-centric. Insightful stuff, I know. Whilst I can't deny that Bart is far less hated on the internet in comparison to Lisa Simpson, for some reason, I feel as though many problems that have affected Lisa's character have similarly affected Bart's as well. Part 1. Episodicness. I think to properly explain this, I should use several episodes as examples. When I think back to a typical Bart episode in the show, I think of Bart Gets an F, Bart's Friend Falls in Love, Bart of Darkness, Lisa's Sex, and Barthood. Unfortunately, I also think of Little Big Girl, Beware My Cheating Bart, The Fabulous Faker Boy, What to Expect When Bart's Expecting, Paths of Glory, and E My Sports. Whereas I feel that Lisa's character as a whole shifted the later into the show we got, Bart's character stayed relatively the same. This is for a number of reasons, like the fact that more status quo changing events have happened to Lisa, and Bart's character to begin with was something that remained constantly appealing and marketable to a larger audience. So if Bart's character is fine, then what do I have to complain about? Honestly, I should be ashamed of myself. Well, the problem is that the episodes themselves have changed the way Bart is implemented. Case in point, Series 10. A lot of people consider Series 10 to be, at the very least, good. And whilst there are a couple of episodes I quite enjoy from that series, I can't deny Bart was absolutely just decimated. I mean, they really curb-stomped the shit out of his character. Like, fuck man, you're just gonna sit there and take that? Okay, let's begin with episode 1 of Series 10. A new girl joins Lisa's class and takes a lot of attention away from her. Meanwhile, on the lower end of the spectrum, Homer starts collecting and selling grease. But where was Bart during all of this? Well, he was assisting Homer in this endeavor. That's right, Bart was the sidekick to Homer's subplot. This also occurs in Series 10's second episode, The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, as well as Sunday Cruddy Sunday, Maximum Homer Drive, and Mum and Pop Art. You can't have an episode halfway through the series about Bart and the other kids rising up against the adults like, yeah, we're just as important as you, f*** you, Dad, and then continue the rest of the series with multiple episodes in which Bart just becomes Homer's sidekick again. So because of this, Bart's character has a tendency of being sidelined because, I'll admit, Homer and Bart are an entertaining duo, wow, who'd have thought it. But I think my favourite episode in which the two work together is Lemon of Troy, in which the two begin with their own cohorts and subplots and then join forces at the end to stick it to the Shelbyvillians. F*** Shelbyville, all my homies hate Shelbyville. I'm not saying every episode has to reach the literary excellence of Lemon of Troy.
Oh, you lousy Springfielder, you...
But having Bart just latch onto whatever dumb get-rich-quick scheme Homer thinks up that week is gross misuse of one of their main characters. This isn't something that has remained constant throughout the show, thankfully, but I felt the need to bring it up because it necessarily metamorphosizes Bart into just adopting many of the same traits as Homer going forward. Hot take, but I think Bart and Homer are actually significantly different characters, so having Bart just become a younger version of Homer with the same jokes about him being fat and dumb is a great detriment to Bart's character as a whole. I'm in the camp of arguing that Bart is not a cartoonishly dumb character like Homer. Sure, he doesn't understand some mature conventions, but that's because he's a child, and not because he's stupid. As it turns out, Bart has a great deal of emotional intelligence when the writers feel like using it, and some of his greatest schemes have an insane amount of cunning behind them. fucking genius, this kid. So just because Edna Krabappel and Homer and Lisa and even Bart himself have all made comments about Bart's stupidity, I don't buy it whatsoever. It's almost like there was an entire goddamn episode dedicated to expressly telling the audience that Bart wasn't just a dumb kid. And I think if we take anything away from this segment, it's that just because 4 people say the same thing doesn't make it true. Part 2. Love, or whatever. Okay, how do I start this section? Think back to when you were 10 years old. Now recall, if you will, how many childhood crushes, or better yet, relationships of any sort of romantic nature you had when you were 10 years old, and 10 years old only. How many people was that? By any chance, was that number 14? Yeah, Bart Simpson has had 14 relationships of a romantic nature when he was 10 years old. At least 4 of them were substantially older than him, by the way. Who is asking for this? I really hope I don't have to explain why doing this 14 times is weird and uncomfortable, but essentially these episodes seem to range from uninterestingly formulaic to being edgy for shock value, which is somehow even worse. They also all end the same way, with Bart breaking it off with the girl or vice versa, so the audience can feel a sense of nothing but a waste of 20 minutes spent watching a 10-year-old fall in love. Oh, you silly audience member, don't you know if you wanted to watch a child get into a relationship and then break up formulaically, you could have just logged onto TikTok? I swear if that happens in a new Simpsons episode, I'm gonna kill him. So besides being Homer's sidekick, Bart's next most commonly used trope is being in a relationship with another girl. I mean, a girl. He's not a girl. Why did I write that? Bart Simpson, transgender lesbian Scientologist icon? But having said all that, I would consider at least a couple of those episodes early on to be actually quite interesting, though the rest do bore the fuck out of me. Also, at least 2 of these relationships are Bart cucking Jimbo, which is not cool, man. Despite this, I'm pretty sure the last of these relationship episodes was over 5 years ago, which is good. I guess the writers are setting Bart on a different path? I mean, I wish it wasn't a path that included Bart becomes a successful caddy, but Marge thinks it may ruin his character. Curse you, Disney! Okay, so with both of those 2 crucial reasons explained, I think I can now declare, with all seriousness, without judgment, that I have lost all faith in this 10-year-old boy. No further questions. Thank you for watching this video. At some point I'll return to my regular Simpsons video upload schedule, but also thank you everyone who watched my feature-length Series 11 rant. It means so much to me that people are actually willing to hear my opinions on a series of a show that aired over 20 years ago. So yeah, thanks. Oh, and also it turns out Homer's gonna keep abusing his son.